Hey, this is Greg Berger, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Today on Weekend at the Movies, we bring you a supersized main attraction as we break down the second in our look back at the Mad Max franchise with our review of The Road Warrior. We follow that up with a look at the recently released Ex Machina. And finally, we do what every other movie podcast is doing this week. We review Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. All that and more coming up on Weekend at the Movies. That's right, it's another episode of Weekend at the Movies. I am your host, Optimus Solo, and joining me for her second podcast is Hard Candy Mandy. Amanda, hello.
Sup?
Sup. And would be joining us would be Movie Revolt Dan, but he has probably the most valid excuse I've ever heard for somebody to get out of a podcast. He's at the hospital with his wife who is in labor, so we will forgive him for missing out. He wanted to be on the episode because he's seen most of the movies we're going to be talking about, but we'll give him a free pass on this one, and hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. That's a pretty valid excuse, right?
I'd say.
Okay.
If you're popping out a baby.
I mean, I don't know if the actual baby popping is happening as we speak, but it's a possibility. So we'll await news from him and wish him the best of luck today with all of that. So we have a mega-size episode today as far as talking about movies, as you can hear from the intro and the tease there. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to skip the news section first because there wasn't a whole bunch of groundbreaking news this week, and second so we can have more time to get a little bit more in depth with a lot of movies that we saw this week. So we won't go too far into the news, but we will touch on the box office just briefly. And since we're recording this a little late due to a certain movie's release, we actually have this current weekend's numbers already up. So looking at the box office, no surprise, everybody knew this was coming. Coming in at number one, Avengers Age of Ultron with $187 million in one weekend. So in one weekend, it did more than any movie except for two so far for the entire year. So $187 million, it's almost to its $250 million budget. Maybe a little bit more of a surprise coming in second is actually The Age of Adeline, not Furious 7. So Furious 7 not only drops out of the number one spot, but they drop all the way down to the third spot. So Age of Adeline and Furious 7 coming in with a whopping $6 million. So no money spent except for Avengers this week. And then Paul Blart, Mall Cop, goes from the second spot down to the fourth spot. And the animated film Home comes in at number 5. Any surprise there for you, Amanda?
Why is Paul Blart even in the top 5? I don't understand that.
It's made $50 million so far, just north of $50 million. So nobody's afraid of that 4% Rotten Tomato score, apparently.
How did it do more than Ex Machina?
I think that has to do with the release. Paul Blart Mall Cop was in 3,500 theaters, and Ex Machina is only in 1,200 so far. So due to some release issues there, I do find it surprising that Cinderella went from 12th last week because it's been around for 8 weeks, and it made a jump all the way back up to number 6. So it is creeping. It is trying to creep towards that 200 million mark. It's at 193.6 right now. So it's got a little ways to do, but maybe in about a month, if it's still in theaters, it might be able to creep past the 200 million mark. The other opener this week that started was Far From the Maddening Crowd, but that only came out in 10 theaters, so that's not really an issue there. Big drops for Get Hard, big drops for Insurgent. True Story went from 15th down to like 22nd, so that is in its third week now. It's had a total gross of $4 million. So, but again, that's only in about 296 theaters. Any surprise that Furious 7's down to number 3 and that Age of Adeline beat it?
Yeah, big surprise. I think a lot of ladies are probably pushing that then.
A lot of ladies that had to endure going to see Furious 7 are now getting back at their...
Yeah, they're like, look, motherfucker, we're going to the movie that I want to see now.
So Age of Adeline bumps Furious 7. And looking ahead, there's not going to be any change next week as far as the number one goes. We'll talk about that when we get to the movies that are coming out next week, but nobody's trying to compete with Avengers in the second week. We'll have to wait 2 weeks until Mad Max tries to compete with it a little bit. So probably not going to be much of a change next week at the box office. And if we're looking at the yearly totals so far, Furious 7 currently holds the number one spot with $330 million. Cinderella number 2, like I said, $193. Avengers in its first weekend is now the third highest grossing movie of the year with 187, followed by 50 Shades of Grey and SpongeBob, with a Home right behind. So maybe Home can sneak past SpongeBob or 50 Shades of Grey eventually. Sometimes those animated movies are out forever in the theater. So,
well, it's hard for parents to take kids when it just comes out. They want to wait until it's been out for a few weeks and hopes to not disrupt other moviegoers, I think. So it's a creeper.
And with a lot of school getting out for some people here within the next month, maybe if it's still out, it'll have another little spike or something like that. So I have to wait and see on that. Like I said, we're skipping news, but we will talk about a few trailers. There was about a dozen trailers that were released this week. Going down the list, just listing them real quick. Black Mass, The Visit, Chocolate City. That's got to be one of the dumbest names for a movie I've ever heard of.
He wouldn't even watch the whole trailer.
I wouldn't watch it. I'm sorry. That for those that don't know, Chocolate City is what, Magic Mike with like the African American version, or what?
Just black dudes doing Magic Mike. We should put it out there.
Barely Lethal, Ted 2. I think I saw DJ Valentine in Chocolate City actually starting that stuff. Ted 2, Strangeland, Wild Horses, The Last Witch Hunter, Irrational Man, Demonic, and Legend. We'll have links to all those trailers on the website page with the episode post, but just looking at those movies, which ones stuck out to you? Which ones did you like?
I thought Johnny Depp was pretty awesome in the Black Mass trailer, so I'm looking forward to that one.
What? Somebody's looking forward to a Johnny Depp movie?
Dude, he looked creepy.
He did look creepy. He was not playing his normal self, guys. Give him a break.
Hair. I thought the whole premise of that movie was pretty bomb looking too. I think the Wild Horses, dude, there's already another movie by that name. Pretty sure Robert Duvall. Josh
I think Robert Duvall's in it too.
He is.
And Josh Hartnett making a movie appearance.
He's been in Penny Dreadful. He's got to make a comeback here somehow.
No, he doesn't.
Just get over it.
James Franco playing a
his
Western,
accent, Jesus.
Western Texas guy.
Not going to be able to hold that one.
Can we go back to Black Mass for a second? I need to see more of Johnny Depp because his makeup almost looks as bad as what was that film? Capote?
Oh.
Or not Capote. The one where Leonardo DiCaprio played like an old like political guy, and the makeup was super super bad. J. Edgar.
Yeah.
It looked that bad, so I need to see some more of his makeup to make sure it's not just that one shot.
Dude, I thought it looked legit though.
I don't know. It looked kind of weird.
It looked legit. Don't hate.
What other ones besides you said Wild Horses?
No, that was not something I'm looking forward to. I think that The Last Witch Hunter needs to come and really step up and redeem The Seventh Son for me. I feel like it's like the same.
You and your Witch Hunter movies.
I have a weakness.
First of all, I'm confused because the poster for Last Witch Hunter shows Vin Diesel in like a long beard, long hair, and looking like something out of like medieval times.
He's got to go through his trials and tribulations in the mountains and stuff by himself.
Yeah, but right now he just looked like Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious.
In the trailer, you mean?
Yeah. In modern times.
He's probably been alive for a long time.
Oh.
He's probably spent...
It's the immortal Vin Diesel.
He probably spent 7 years in Tibet, okay? And then he had to have that beard grown.
I don't know about that. I don't know about The Last Witch Hunter. Michael Caine, Vin Diesel...
Dude, Michael Caine makes anything legit.
No, that's going to be... And you thought the same thing for the people that were in Seventh Son.
But it's Michael Caine.
Didn't happen. Jeff Bridges, not so much.
Jeff Bridges
Julianne
is
Moore,
a joke,
not so much.
dude. R.I.P.D. or whatever that was, P.D.
Yeah.
But I think the demonic one, if he's scary, yeah. Legend, I think when I saw the picture on Twitter of Tom Hardy sitting next to Tom Hardy, I was immediately intrigued, and after seeing the trailer, I'm on board.
I love how the trailer like gives him 2 credits. It's like Tom Hardy, and then it blinks away, and then it's like Tom Hardy.
Don't they always do that when one character or one actor plays 2 characters?
And for those people, whoever the Tom Hardy owner is, I think it's DJ Valentine again, in the PFFL, no, you're not getting double points for that. That's one appearance for Tom Hardy. Same movie. What about your M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong?
Shyamalan?
Yeah, with The Visit.
Oh, I don't know what he's doing with his life. I really don't.
So he's not going to redeem his last 10 years with The Visit?
No, because that just looks like Paranormal Activity redone in the same sense as, I don't know.
Yeah. It looks bad to me because I don't like those types of movies, so I can't really give it a justified opinion there.
I don't need any more reason to be creeped out by old ladies. I don't.
in a rocking chair looking at a wall.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Get in this oven to clean it.
Right. And then we had Samuel L. Jackson playing the same role that he's played in the last 10 movies he's been in.
When is he not going to be a director of something?
He's teaching, he's a professor, he's a director, he's the head of something.
It's always spy related.
He's got a lisp or an eye patch or some type of handicap physically.
Evil laugh.
We're talking about Barely Lethal, which is Samuel L. Jackson and Jessica Alba and a bunch of other people.
Sansa Stark.
Oh,
She has no words in the trailer, just they see her face.
I don't think that's like a wide release movie. I'm assuming that's just like a direct to video or something, or I don't know. That looked cheesy as hell.
Would expect.
Ted 2, of course, more hijinks from Marky Mark and the stuffed bear. Looked like it had some funny parts in early on the trailer.
I didn't see his lady friend at all in the trailer, though.
Whose lady's friend? Ted's?
Marky Mark.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know if she's in this. It's all about Ted and his girl.
Tammy Lynn.
But it looked like it had some funny moments. Hopefully they all weren't part of the trailer. I think if I had to say the two that I was most interested in would be Black Mass and Legend.
You did like Locke quite a bit.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's cool. Irrational Man, I don't know. It's another Woody Allen flick, so if you're into Woody Allen, it's got Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone in it, so if you're into those people, it might be good, but I don't know. That looked kind of creepy to me. So
that Strangerland with Nicole Kidman, I have no idea what is happening at all.
Yeah, that just looked like Nicole
Kidman
being
about.
stupid.
I don't know what's happening. Just a sandstorm in a car.
It said thriller, but I wasn't thrilled.
I wasn't thrilled.
So, about all those trailers, let us know which ones you're interested in, which ones you're not. Tell us if we're right or wrong on our first thoughts. But like I said, I'm intrigued by Black Mass and Legend, so looking for more about those two when they come out.
It's not all about you.
What you said the same things.
It's not all about.
And I'm sorry. And the Last Witch Hunter, because you're obsessed with witches.
No, I'm not obsessed with witches.
Oh, you're obsessed with the witch hunters.
I like the.
You like the hunters of the witch.
I like that genre.
Hansel and Gretel, Seven Son, Last Witch Hunter.
I didn't know that's what Seven Son was about to be like.
Anyways, let us know your thoughts on those, and we'll react to those. We'll reply on the website. We're going to take a quick early break because we're going to come back with a whole bunch of movie talk, so we'll be right back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Greg.
This is Chuck.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles.
Because the world needs another podcast, we are here as Geekcast Radio's newest edition.
And as the title says, each week we get lost in conversation about a wide range of topics, including movies, comics, games, art, TV, and even occasionally sports.
We play games and discuss pivotal topics like who would win in a fight, the Kool-Aid Man or Tony the Tiger, and examine the hot-button issues of the world of geekdom.
We keep things fresh by taking timeless topics in new directions.
We are simply three friends having a fun time talking about life's most fascinating foibles.
Stay connected with us every Tuesday on iTunes or at geekcastradio.com.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
All right, thanks for sticking with us, and it is time to do the what we've been watching, and then we'll get into the main attraction. Like I said, we got a lot of movies to talk about. We have 3 movies as part of our main attraction, but before that, we're going to talk about some other movies that we've been watching, and we'll start with Amanda, because as always, she sees more movies than I do. So which of the 3 movies that you saw without me would you like to start with?
Let's go with Frankenstein. I watched Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Robert De Niro as Frankenstein.
That's just weird.
And it was probably the most articulate I've ever seen Robert De Niro be in a movie, even though his face was all messed up.
What do you mean by articulate?
Like, he sounded smart.
Robert De Niro didn't sound smart in Casino?
I don't think
Goodfellas?
I don't even think I saw that. No, he was a jackass. He was not a smart ass. He was intelligent.
What about Meet the Fockers?
Meet the Fockers?
Or Meet the Parents?
He was a jackass in those movies,
But he sounded smart.
Yeah, I guess. But not like Shakespeare reading books smart. Okay.
Gotcha.
It was good. What kind of scale are we doing this?
It's always 1 of 5 here at the Geekcast Radio Network.
Okay, well, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It was decent. It had the guy that played Gilderoy Lockhart in Harry Potter as Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein.
I thought Robert De Niro was Frankenstein.
The monster. He's Frankenstein's monster.
Oh.
Let me get that right. My
Gotcha.
bad. But it was the typical storyline that follows Frankenstein. You made me, you abandoned me, you're scared of me. Now I'm going to hate everybody and kill everything you like, but now I'm going to come back and you better make me a bride, otherwise I'm going to murder your family.
So you said 3? 3 out of 5?
Yeah.
So you overall liked it?
I liked it. It was good. I mean, I wouldn't say it was phenomenal, but I liked it. It was enjoyable.
Okay, fair enough. And what other films did you watch this week without me?
I watched Son of Batman, which is an animated film. I really, really was digging on that. I had seen the beginning, I think, on Netflix like a while back, and I must have fallen asleep or something because I didn't see the end, but I went through it again, and some of it was kind of, it was an animated film, so it was a little cheesy. At one point there was, ninjas with guns versus ninjas with swords, and then, Ra's al Ghul was in it, which is pretty cool, even like the Lazarus Pit. I don't know what it is about the Lazarus Pit. I think I need to learn more about it, but whenever somebody comes out of the Lazarus Pit, they freak out, and they're freaking...
How's that go?
But it showed some cool scenes with him coming in and out of the Lazarus Pit, but I feel like he almost went out like a little bitch, but I'm not going to give away any house.
Not going to spoil it?
I'm not going to spoil it.
That's an old movie, though, right?
Yeah, it's been out for a while, but... it was cool because it had Slade Wilson, it had, Killer Croc, Waylon Jones in it. It gets really brutal. Batman doesn't pull any punches.
You've seen a lot of the animated DC films, or not?
I've seen a fair few. Like Under the Red Hood. I really liked that one.
Did you see, what was it, Return of the Dark Knight? Or Dark Knight Returns, or something? Part 1 and Part 2?
The animated ones?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, probably not. But it was alright, and then eventually it got to some more weirdness with some genetic, experimentation, where it's like a man, vampire, bat, soldiers. I don't know why they needed swords. They are mutants, they have claws and things, but they had swords.
Interesting.
But it was cool to see Damian Wayne being a little asshole. Slicing people up.
Who's Damian Wayne?
Damian Wayne is the son of Batman.
Oh, I get it.
Talia, Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and
Gotcha.
Batman had a baby.
That sounds bad.
This is definitely not a for kids animated movie by any means. There's a lot of side boob and
Animated side boob.
Animated side boob.
Gotta love it. I don't know about that. All right, somebody out there loves it. It's not me. So on a scale of 1 to 5, where does Son of Batman rank?
I would say 4. I liked it.
4? That's a pretty good rating.
Yeah.
So it was better than the other animated films you've seen, or?
I wouldn't say it was better. It was pretty cool.
Okay. And you saw another comic book related film without me.
Oh, I revisited Superman Returns.
Why would anyone revisit that film?
Just because I couldn't remember a lot of it, and I realized I fell asleep and then it restarted again, and so I finished it.
Yikes.
That's just my life.
So, details. How much did you like it on your return visit?
I didn't like it much at all. I think I like the Henry Cavill Superman story better. This one was just watered down and weak, and I don't like Kate Bosworth or whatever her face is.
Why do we have this movie inside the house?
I bought it.
Why did you spend money on this?
I got it at Disc Replay.
So you only spent like $1 on it?
It was like $3.33.
All right.
I'm just trying to beef up my collection.
Let's beef up the collection with good movies.
But Superman, bro.
Yes, there's not hardly any good Superman movies, so not necessary.
Kevin Spacey, fucking K-Pack.
Yeah, anyway. All right, so those were the ones that she saw on her own. Superman Returns, you didn't give a grade for it, 1 through 5. How low is it ranking?
Let's give it a 2.
A 2? I think that's generous.
1.5.
1.5? which one are we settling on?
1.5.
1.5 for Superman Returns. So that's a 1.5 for Superman Returns, a 3 for Frankenstein, and a 4 for Son of Batman. There was a couple movies that we saw together that are not part of the main attraction part, because I don't want to advertise to anybody that I actually watched these movies.
I'm going to say it.
So anyways, we watched the first 3 Fast and the Furious movies.
You're welcome.
And the only reason I'm watching these is so that when I bash these films, people can't accuse me of bashing something I haven't seen yet. So so this will give me actual fuel to the fact that I did see these films, so I know what I'm talking about. And so far, as Movie Revolt Dan warned me, he said the first 3 or 4 are not going to be something you like, and he is absolutely correct. The films in this first half of this franchise so far are complete garbage. Let's start with the first one, the original Fast and the Furious, because that is the best of the 3 so far. I will say that's the best of the 3. You get Paul Walker, you get Vin Diesel, you get a whole bunch of characters that at least have something. Michelle Rodriguez. You get some people that you can at least get invested in a little bit. There's a little bit of depth to the characters somewhat. But man, some of this just doesn't work for me. I have a problem. I know this is something that's a staple of the franchise, and this is something that people like as far as the action goes, but I can't suspend my reality when it comes to physics and logic to the point that these movies want me to. What kind of car was that drove under the semi?
Civic.
Yeah,
Honda Civic.
a Honda Civic cannot drive.
When I drive, don't hate.
Cannot drive under a semi.
If the semi is jacked up, which it was, and the Civic was dropped ridiculously low, which it was, they made it happen. We saw it. Is it realistic? No. Was it awesome? Yes.
There's some things that happen with wind and forces and stuff like that when you're in situations like that, and with tires, it just wouldn't work like that. You couldn't steer and stay steady under a semi.
They did it.
It's stupid. But they didn't do it. They did it in a movie.
They did it.
Come on, they didn't actually do it.
Okay, somebody on the street doing that? No.
Yeah.
But they did it in the stunt driving.
Uh-huh.
Just like Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits between 2 semis.
Yeah.
Happened.
Vin Diesel is a terrible actor. Amanda can defend him all she wants, but Vin Diesel...
He doesn't need to say a lot.
Vin Diesel is literally one of the worst actors in Hollywood. He's got a cool voice. Like, he's got the big, deep voice, and he's a big, husky, muscular beefcake of a dude. So, like...
It just looks like he could break your face, and if he yelled or something, I'd probably get scared.
I just never got, though, like, even going through high school when this movie came out when I was in high school, I believe, or when I graduated. It was, like, right between high school and college or something. And girls were obsessed. Girls have been obsessed with Vin Diesel for a long time, and I don't get it.
I don't even like bald guys, but
he's not an attractive dude.
He's
It's that like
imposing.
cave woman instinct that
It is.
that this guy will club everybody else and bring me meat and we'll survive. Like,
Exactly. Bring me
it's
some
so
fucking
terrible.
meats. That's all I want.
Carnal appeal to Vin Diesel.
Don't hate.
But I mean,
Congratulate.
he's a perfect cast for Fast and the Furious because that's exactly what the fans of this movie want to see. Somebody like him that has that carnal appeal, I guess. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Sensitive.
Nobody's tuning into Fast and Furious for great acting. So
No,
Vin Diesel's
exactly
a great person to put in there, I guess. And Paul Walker, I generally like Paul Walker, and I think this is an example of Paul Walker very early on before he kind of learned some things. Because he's a little weak in this film. I think he improves as the franchise goes on and he becomes a better actor. But in this first one, he's very green. And some of his laughing and some of his different things are just kind of, I don't know.
All he's going to do is smile and bat those lashes over those baby blues and
right.
do
And
the
then
look and drive.
As far as the story goes, I mean, obviously a lot of people have pointed out in other podcasts and reviews that this is basically just a ripoff. Of a different movie, Point Break. So I'm not gonna kind of beat that point over with a dead horse.
Can I just say that I love Point Break? I love that movie.
And you like this movie? It makes sense because apparently they're the same movie.
Shh, I can't hear Keanu.
and it has an equally as great actor in Keanu Reeves. But I don't have any problem. Like, yeah, they're racing and they're doing their thing, and like, I get it. And it's not something that appeals to me, but I can follow it as a story goes and whatnot. And I don't care how much everybody wants to claim that you got to see all the movies and everything's that all the dots are gonna connect in this completely illogical and scientifically unsound film series. But I'll watch them all and I'll wait for the plot points to be connected. But if you're judging this as a standalone movie, then the plot never is resolved in this. They just kind of don't even touch on it.
This is the startup.
At the time, it was not. At the time, it was a one-off movie. At the time, they had no idea that it was going to be a franchise or that they were going to connect together.
Then, so they could.
Well, movies can do that, but that doesn't mean...
Coming from a guy who doesn't need closure in a movie. Like, there was no closure to the plot. You know what happens.
No, I don't. Okay, I can understand what...
They're fugitives now. They're running. Paul Walker is now either going to get arrested or he's going to be a fugitive himself.
Yeah, but, okay, I can understand with leaving something open. There's ways to leave films open for... a sequel. A lot of films do that. It's commonplace these days, and a lot of films do that. But they still wrap up the story that was central to the film that they're doing right now. The whole plot of this film is that he's an undercover agent, undercover cop that is trying to find the dish on these stolen goods and all this other stuff. And
the dish,
the scoop,
or something?
The scoop that you put in a dish. So he's trying to find out the details and do his undercover thing, and they completely abandon the conclusion of that part. You can't just have he goes abandons that, helps Vin Diesel out, sends him on his way, and then everything's just hunky-dory, which is how it ends.
He goes off the rails because he forms a relationship with them. And then coming into the second one, we find out why he has that soft spot for that relationship with Vin Diesel, and he found a new family.
Right, I get all that, but apparently the police force and the FBI and whoever else, government agents involved in this universe are much different than the ones that are involved in the real world, because none of that would have flown how it happened in that film.
It's a movie.
Exactly, and I can only just it's not setting it up like it's in some alternate universe. It's setting it up like it's here on Earth, and that's not how the police force works in the United States. They wouldn't allow that. He would have been locked up, put away, and the key was thrown away.
If they can catch him.
Oh my God, he's not Jason Bourne. He's not Jason Bourne here. This is Paul freaking Walker. He went to Miami. Look him up. He doesn't have a new identity. He didn't scrape off his fingerprints. You can find this guy. Like,
he didn't go The Rock or whatever.
No. And I also like how this franchise incorporates the whole idea. Like, you see it more with like the hacker genre, where there's like a computer hacker, and then the government will be like, wait, we can use you for our benefit. Go find this bad hacker, and we will let you out of jail type thing. I mean, I know it didn't work with Black Hat and whatever, but it's a common trope. I didn't realize that the same holds up for people that can race cars. Like, the government needs race car drivers as much as they need hackers.
Because it's the Fast and the Furious verse.
It's like, if you can race cars, you can have your record erased, and you can be helpful to the government, which gets us to the second one. Before we get to the second one.
Wait. Okay, they needed him in the second one because he had a certain skill set. Plus, he had the
certain skill set. Oh my God!
Plus his background, like, he could do undercover stuff. That's what they needed him for. They didn't need him just to be a driver.
The government has never needed a driver in the history of the government. Did you hear what I just said?
They didn't need him just because he was a driver. They needed him because he could go undercover, and there just happens to be a driver needed.
There's a driver needed. Never has been said in the entire history of the FBI. Anyway, okay, clearly you like this film more than I do. I am saying it's the best out of the three I've watched so far. So your grade on the original Fast and Furious out of 5 would be what?
I'm going to say 4.
Okay. 4 out of 5 for Amanda. I will give the first one a 3. I'll give the first one a 3. And borderline 3.5, but I'll stick with it at 3 because I genuinely enjoyed the characters. As much as I don't like the acting of Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, I think they're still easy to watch and laugh about and whatever. So, but I think there's more character.
Hater because you don't give a shit about cars, and that's what this whole movie was about. You're like, I'm gonna write this entire movie off because I'm gonna look at what they're showing me when they lift up that hood, and I don't give a fuck about it.
I don't care what's under the hood. I don't care what kind of car it is. I don't care
and
what year it is. I don't care about
dude.
any of that stuff. I know, but it's still a movie that's out there. So if I'm watching it, I'm gonna judge it based on my personal experiences.
Yeah, and all you're doing the whole time we're watching this is, that's supposed to mean something to me? Is that supposed to be cool? Oh, is that a good thing?
I'm sorry, I don't get why cars are cool, but I'll give it a.
Sensitive.
I'll give no, it's not because I have a brain that works. I have an intelligence factor
you know
above,
how much
above
intelligence
an IQ
you
of
need
80.
to make cars like that work?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. So it's better than the other one so far. So that means we're in for a treat here as we get to what's the name of the second one?
I don't know, Fast Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, there you go.
Or something like that. Whatever
Too
the
Fast,
number.
Too Furious.
The second one. All right. So second one we have, of course, Paul Walker continues. That's the only link really to the previous movie outside of mentions of stuff that happened. I'm talking about character wise.
No.
Oh yeah, the captain, the captain guy. What?
Don't correct me. I've seen these.
So the captain and Paul Walker. Otherwise, it's just mentionings of what happened in the first one. So
I want to mention you don't need to have all the characters from
No, I get that.
first
I think that was
one.
the most clever part of what the Fast and Furious originally I thought was trying to do, because when they decided that they were going to do sequels, there wasn't the typical sequel thing of we have to bring back the whole cast, et cetera, et cetera. It was just going to be like Fast and Furious with maybe none of the characters, Fast and Furious, movie with maybe one character or maybe two of the characters, and it was just going to kind of bounce around, so there was kind of more loose connection. I have no problem with that.
It's like Crash. You know how it had all these different storylines,
right,
and then they come together in certain
Right,
places?
I get all that, but obviously as we get through the franchise, that's going to completely shift at some point, and they're not going to follow through with that motive or with that kind of idea. So, I mean, it was cool that they were trying to do it at the beginning. I'm not going to hold that against them, but because the characters were much better developed in the first one, yes, I said characters developed, and we're talking about Fast and Furious, but because they're more developed in the first one with Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez and Paul Walker and even some of the other guys, even the jackass from the first one that was kind of the arch enemy. I don't need to know that. Stop spoiling things. But even the jackass that Paul Walker was fighting with, is developed somewhat in the first one. And my problem is they develop those characters in the first one, and then they go to the second one, and the characters in the second one just aren't as well developed. You obviously have Ludacris now. Can we talk about what Ludacris looked like in this film? Because he looked ridiculous.
Dude, you don't know anything about style. Look what you're wearing right now. So don't even talk about Ludacris.
Ludacris looked ridiculous in this film.
It's Miami. Dude was killing it. Yeah, he had some braids and a do-rag.
I don't think you're going to have a fro like that in Miami when you're...
Dude, why wouldn't you want to have a fro like that?
He looked ridiculous. And then, of course, we have the ever appealing to the women Tyrese in this film, who
takes his blouse off.
Who finds a lot of different reasons to take his clothes off.
He's hungry.
He's hungry, so you got to take a shirt off when you're hungry. That's just how it happens.
That's how I get food. That's
so,
how cavemen bring me
so
meats.
we're set up with this idea that Paul Walker and Tyrese have a history together, and Paul Walker is brought in from by the police to do this undercover thing.
The FBI, not just
or the
the
FBI,
cops.
excuse me, the ever incompetent FBI in this universe. And so he's going to recruit Tyrese because he needs another driver. And of course, Tyrese is at first blaming him for a jail stint. So they get in a fight at the beginning. That was one of the worst fight sequences I've ever seen in my life.
He wasn't trying to hurt him.
It was terrible acting as far as a fight goes.
It was funny. It was meant to be like
all
two
the other
friends.
fights in this franchise I've seen have been good, but that was ridiculously looking.
It wasn't supposed to be a serious fight.
I don't care if it's serious or not. They looked like they were trying to not be serious too hard. Like, you could act and as friends fighting and pull it off. They would look like they were trying to act like friends that were fighting.
They looked like 13-year-old boys wrestling around.
Yeah, that sequence was horrible. And apparently, Paul Walker and Tyrese are cousins.
Because he keeps calling him Coos.
So
Coos.
That's something that never gets explained.
Paul Walker's ebonics in this movie come at random, and they're awfully delivered.
And can we talk about the walkie-talkies?
What about them?
The walkie-talkies, like, they're literally sitting in a car next to each other, talking to each other on walkie-talkies at one point.
Keep their shit on the DL, bro.
Okay.
You know those Motorola ones? It's got like 10 to 15 mile radiuses and stuff. They're good, dude.
And then of course we have to insert the female love interest, because Paul Walker has a different female love interest, I think, in every movie. So we had, what was the girl's name in the first one?
This is the only one that it's
What
different.
was the other girl's name in the first one? I don't know who the actress that played that girl, but
Vin Diesel's sister.
Yeah, Vin Diesel's sister in the first one, who. That was a pretty believable connection between those two, I thought. Like, I can buy Paul Walker and Vin Diesel's sister, having a thing there. But in this one, we get, what's her name? Eva Mendes? Mm-hmm. Eva Mendes as the other undercover officer that is trying to infiltrate the dude that's bad in this film. We don't need to go into that because there's really not much to the whole reasoning behind that. But there's one point where Eva Mendes runs up and kisses Paul Walker out of nowhere.
She doesn't just run up. They were face to face already in his boathouse. Which, did she swim there?
I don't know, but there was no build up to that point.
All of a sudden, now we're kissing.
All of a sudden, we've been looking at each other from afar, and now it's time to kiss each other.
We've been eye-fucking each other for about 3 scenes now. It's about time to kiss.
So that means you gotta kiss. This movie, I did not like as much as the first one. I like Tyrese as in general. He's cool. I don't mind him, and I know he's going to be a factor, going through the rest of the franchise. So we'll wait and see how that develops. But I just didn't like. I don't think there was enough of the supporting cast to get into in this one. Even if you like Paul Walker and Tyrese, I didn't care about Eva Mendes' character. I didn't care about the bad guy. And there just wasn't as many dynamics between the whole ensemble like you got in the first one, so I'm a little bit lower on this one than I am the first one. Do you like this one more or less than the first one?
I think that 1 through 3, my rating goes down.
Well, we're not at 3 yet.
Each. So this one is kind of on the down step as well.
Okay. So you gave the first one 4?
I think I gave it a 3.
Oh, yeah, you gave the first one... no, you gave it the first one 3.5 or 4. It was 2 minutes ago, and you've already forgotten what you gave it.
Yeah, I don't deal well with ratings.
Okay, well, what do you give the second one?
I give it either a 2.5 or a 3.5. I don't know, depending on my last score that I don't remember. It's going to be a 0.5 below my last score. We'll put that
All
out
right,
there.
well, we'll have to work on her memory skills. I gave...
Drink too much.
I gave the last one a 3. I will give this one a 2. I'm going to give this one a 2. So a 3 for the original Fast and Furious. I'll give the second one a 2. It's the second movie. It should get a 2. So if you were on a 10-point scale, that equates to a 4 out of 10.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious, 2 points out of 5. All right, so that brings us to Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Keyword drift there, because it's all about drifting in this film. All right, so let's get rid of all characters from the last 2 films, and let's focus on. I don't even know the dude's name. I don't want to know the dude's name.
Lucas Black.
Lucas Black is a terrible actor. I can't stand his voice.
That's his real voice. I can't
stand it. I cannot stand listening to that guy talk. That guy talking makes me want to punch a baby. That's just all there is to it. Then you have grown-up Bow Wow, because he shed the little part, so it's just Bow Wow.
Can't be little forever.
And then a bunch of people I don't know, including the women and including all of the people from Tokyo. And including...
everybody in Tokyo.
And including Lucas Black's dad. I don't know who that was either.
I've seen him in something else.
I have seen him in something else, too.
Pretty sure he's a good dad.
Oh, and at the beginning, we get a cameo, or a little couple-second spot from the oldest kid from Home Improvement, being a high school bully. So he looked like a douche.
But they all looked like they were about 30 in high school.
Yeah. I like at one point, Lucas Black and Home Improvement Kid are about to get in a fight in the parking lot. And within 2 seconds, the entire student body is there to watch. That was the fastest moving crowd I've ever seen.
Everybody was already in the parking lot because it was the end of the day. Everybody was leaving. Everybody's already outside.
Yeah, but it's going to take a second. But it's going to take a second. So it's going to start. No, but it's going to start, and then someone's going to see it, and then someone's going to run over, and then more people, and then it's going to be a gradual thing until there's a lot of people there, and by the time the last people get there, the fight's already fucking over anyways. These people were there in like 5 seconds, there was like 300 people watching this fight. That's unrealistic and stupid. I know you've been in a lot more fights than me.
I'm sorry
but that
you
is
went
not
to a
how it
school
happens.
with about 105 total
Yeah,
students.
even in a
my
school.
graduating class was probably 4 times the size of your entire school.
Yeah, I don't care if my high school is 400 people or not. They still wouldn't get there that fast.
Because they're slow farm kids.
No,
that's
they're much
why.
faster than city kids.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're on the outdoors. They got to run and whatnot.
No, they're not running from animals and shit. We're running from the cops in the city.
That's stupid.
Racist.
And also, racing takes a whole new definition in this film because it's not about racing. It's about
Getting girls' numbers.
No.
That's why Han races.
That's why Han races. But I'm talking about in general. It's not like racing, and I'm not just talking about because it's drifting. It's more of car battle survival. It's not a race. It's get to the end without your car being destroyed. Because it's all about trying to knock each other's cars into buildings, off of mountains, into other cars. They race not friendly. This is not a friendly race. That's all I got to say about that.
It's just stupid because you can see how much money they put into these cars. What else are these kids doing that they're making bank? They can just chuck out all these.
And Lucas Black
high-end car parts
is the worst driver in this entire franchise, probably.
He keeps saying, "Oh, I won my first race." The next
Yeah,
day.
apparently when he was 16, he won a
winning?
race, and then he forgot how to drive the next day. His first day he got a ticket, his second day he won a race, his third day he got amnesia and forgot how to drive. Because he's wrecked at least 6 cars in this film. And that's probably a low estimate.
Yeah, I think only one of them was his, really.
And not only is he a terrible driver, but he's playing he's playing a high schooler. Could be junior, could be senior, probably a senior. Because he won his first race when he was 16, and he's probably 17 now. He's saying that story like it was long time ago. When I was 16. No, dude, you're a high schooler. That had to be 2 years ago. But maybe we shouldn't cast a 24-year-old to play an 18-year-old. Sometimes that works, but this dude is not looking like a high schooler. In fact, in one scene, he has to get derobed to go into the sauna or whatever with the sumo wrestler.
He's got more chest hair than...
He's got chest hair that can't even be contained.
By his t-shirt.
Yeah, it's popping out and poking his chin and stuff. And then he's got the most unattractive, and I'm not trying to... No homo here, but he's got the most unattractive chest nipple area.
Oh my god, his nips were nasty. And his chest hair didn't even want to come close to it. There was rings of skin around his actual areola because they were we ain't getting nasty. We're not getting in on that.
He was not in it. If Vin Diesel or let's just go back to the last movie. Let's not compare Lucas Black and Tyrese when they're taking their shirts off here. I'm just saying, I think girls are going to have 2 different reactions to those 2 individuals taking their shirts off. And it's not a favorable one for Mr. Lucas Black, but you might be in favor of being with him because he has magical healing powers. He gets the crap beat out of him by this Yakuza's nephew guy. I don't remember what his name was.
Well, apparently, if you have the male version of Mila Jovovich's nipples, then
you have healing
powers.
But this dude destroys him. He punches him 3 or 4 times hard in the face. He's kicking him in shit.
He wrecks that
his whole face he's literally spitting out blood. He's spitting out blood. And we go... It's not time has passed. There's no way time has passed. It's very clear in the plot that one day has passed.
If that.
If a whole day. And he is healed almost entirely. Come on now. This movie is bad on so many levels. I get that they wanted to go to a different country and kind of show different types of cars and show this whole drifting thing and whatever. The drifting's cool, whatnot. But this was a bad decision. I understand why everybody and their brother says Tokyo Drift is the worst of or one of the worst films in this franchise, because so far it's definitely the worst that I've seen. If I'm given a scale on 1 through 5 for Tokyo Drift, I am going to give this one, I'll give it a half.
I like how on the notes here, it's just one word, nipples.
Yeah, I put nipples down as a note.
I don't even know what that is, but this definitely says nipples.
No, that says terrible driver, and then that says nipples.
Just nipples.
Yeah, and I'm going to give this one a 0.5 out of 5. A 0.5, a failing grade for Tokyo Drift. What do you give this one?
I give it the same. I like I like looking at the cars and cool paint jobs and schemes and all that good stuff. But as far as anything else goes in this movie, I think it's shite.
It is shite. So, so far we've decreased with every movie, and hopefully what everybody says is right, and it'll start getting better around 4 or 5, and we can ramp back up, and then eventually I'll see the 7th film. I won't pay money for it, though, so somebody's going to have to either pay for me to see that, or I don't know what we're doing with that, because I refuse to spend money on these films. Anyways, decent first movie, a little bit worse on the second movie, terrible third movie. So that's it for the Fast and the Furious franchise. We'll update you next week and see how many more of these films we're able to get through. That means it's main attraction time, and like I said in the teaser, we got a triple threat here. We got 3 films we're talking about for our main attraction. We have our continuation of the Mad Max franchise. We talked about the original Mad Max a couple weeks back. Now we're going to be talking about the second one, The Road Warrior. Then we'll get into a couple new 2015 films, Ex Machina and Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. So let's start with the old one. Let's get The Road Warrior out of the way. We started back with Mad Max, now we're to The Road Warrior. And definitely a different feel here, a different movie as far as the first one. I mean, the first one was kind of pre-apocalyptic times. It was
close to.
It was getting close to it, but there were still some semblances of civilization and police force and law and order was somewhat being dismantled, but it was still kind of somewhat there. This one, that's all gone to the wayside, and we're completely in
the shit.
We're in the shit. We're in post-apocalyptic world with no law, no order. And the basic setup here is that we have Mel Gibson's Mad Max character who comes across a semblance of civilization here, kind of an outpost that is guarding a tanker full of fuel, and somewhat, I guess what you could call like the friendly people are guarding that, and then you have a biker
they
gang.
Have like a colony.
Yeah, it's like a little fuel colony that
has chickens
built around
in the
this.
Desert.
Yes.
They have chickens.
Chickens in the desert, and they're built around this tanker fuel, and there's, of course, a nasty car/biker gang that wants that fuel, that's trying to attack them, and anytime somebody leaves the gates, they're kind of being killed or taken prisoner or whatnot. So Mad Max comes across this. Of course, he's going to try to help out the colony to fend off against this nasty gang. So,
only so he can get himself some fuel.
Yeah,
all
because
petrol.
he wants to
get all up in that petrol.
He wants to reassemble his car and get it going so he can get the poop out of there. Yeah. So, what's your initial reaction to The Road Warrior? Did you like it more? Did you have a positive feel going into it, or were you worried based on your Mad Max experience?
Little worried based on the Mad Max experience, but it was always kind of a cool idea for me, so I was willing to, truck it through, especially since the Fury Road trailers have gotten me pumped up for this massive experience of craziness. So I was interested to see what they're going to take from this movie and make it into a greater film.
All right, so let's get into some of the details. I haven't seen this film in so long. The only one that I could really remember from my childhood was Beyond Thunderdome. So revisiting Mad Max and The Road Warrior, kind of fresh territory for me, because I hardly remember them at all from back in the day. So new experiences for me. So I kind of went in open-minded and clear-headed, and just kind of letting the movie decide if I'm going to like it or not. Couple things. We had some reoccurrences from the other films with eye popping again. We had the eyes popping out of the head like Roger Rabbit again, so I guess there's that. Some things I liked about it. I like the bus gate that the colony has, that they just kind of drive this bus back and forth, and that's the door to get in and out of the colony.
Like, these motherfuckers can't blow that up. It's
or
just
climb
a bus.
over a bus. I don't know. Let's talk about the bad guys, though. We got to talk about the gangsters. So we got the main dude, who could be anybody.
We have no idea.
He's got that mask on the whole time.
But he's so buff, he has veins throbbing in his head.
I was so hoping that it was going to be, like, at some point revealed to be, like, Gary Busey or
Dolph Lundgren
or some kind of crazy bad guy, but that's not the case. And then we have, like, his whole gang, but there's 2 people that kind of step out at the beginning. They're, like, the first encounter that Mad Max has with these people. And
I think they call them the gay boys. Literally, that's
I think they do call them the gay boys because, man, these guys, the one guy is wearing something that you would only see in a gay nightclub.
I think Mr. Slave from South Park dressed this entire gang, including Humongous himself.
Yeah, because there's a whole lot of terrible outfitting going on here. I don't know how much these actors got paid to look like this, but you'd have to increase my pay a little bit to put these get-ups on.
Some assless chaps.
Assless
everything.
Yeah, just they might as well have not had clothes on. Like they could have just had like a belt or like a whitey tighties on. Like that's
it's
basically
tidy whities. Get it right.
Tidy whities.
But then the colony was also equally as
the costuming
dressed.
in this film
like
is so
hockey
ridiculous.
pads.
I am looking forward to the costuming in Fury Road because I'm not saying it's bad. Like it's just weird 25, 30 years later to look back and see these people dressed like this. But I think it's going to be cool seeing how they're all dressed in Fury Road and seeing the craziness that's available to them, because I think that's kind of a staple of this franchise. It's kind of the bizarre style of
I get
everything.
it that like you have to take what you can from the apocalypse and run with it, but I really can't see how your son's little league football hockey pads are going to protect you in the post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, I get that. The hockey pads, the belts, the dominatrix. There's apparently somebody raided. There was like a dominatrix place somewhere that they got a hold of, and they got all their goods because they're wearing.
Or
all
from
of
the
them.
village people. I can't really.
It could be that too.
Decide.
A couple interesting things here in this film. At one point, one of the bad guys tries to like ram his car into somebody. Or no, this was Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson rams his car into somebody, which I don't understand why he did that, because he lost the front half of his car by doing it. Like
No, it was Humongous
Was
at
it?
the end. Oh fuck it! I'm gonna ram my car into this big ass Mack truck.
Yeah, like, come on, what was the logic behind that? That didn't work out well at all. We also got to talk about the feral kid.
The gangster ass feral
Jesus.
kid.
Okay, again, I don't remember this film from when I was a child, but I do remember the feral kid, and he kind of befriends Mel Gibson, and he has his little tunnels that he can pop in and out outside the colony, whatever. And at one
Like a
point,
prairie dog.
at one point, there's like a showdown between the colony and Humongous and his gang, and they're kind of like
the initial-
laying the law down
yeah.
and threatening and all this other stuff. And the feral kid pops out, and I guess I wasn't expecting it, but that dude threw a boomerang that killed the gay boy on the bike
Gay
in the
boy number
sidecar.
two?
Gay boy number 2 is clearly the submissive one of that pair.
The blondie.
Yeah, the blondie. Boomerang that sticks right in his forehead.
This guy had no idea it was coming.
I mean, that thing, that was brutal. That was like a jaw-dropping moment while I was watching this. I was like, what in the heck just happened? And then the boomerang gets thrown again, and the guy that's doing all the announcing for the bad guys tries to put his hand up
And
to catch
it.
the boomerang and loses all of his fingers.
A majority of his fingers.
That was one hell of a boomerang.
But that little kid has like this special glove with these like metal things on it.
Don't fuck with a feral kid.
No, you don't.
Don't fuck with a wild kid.
You don't fuck with a wild kid.
That kid was wild.
Like Donnie from the Wild Thornberrys. You don't fuck with that kid.
That's after my time.
You don't fucks with that.
You're speaking 90 cartoons. I stopped listening.
That was not 90s, bro.
Wild Thornberrys, 2000s?
Yeah.
Oh, that was way after I was a child. Anyways, what are things you liked most or disliked most? What was your reaction after you saw this film?
I definitely liked it better than the first one. I thought there was a lot less holes. You know what I mean? And, like, where'd the baby go? And why are we watching our kid? And things like that. But I liked the helicopter guy. I thought he was pretty cool.
That guy was cool.
And then the fact that the gangster-ass feral kid becomes, like, the leader of this whole, like, new age colony now. Like,
Yeah, 'cause he's
who taught him
given
how to fucking talk? Like,
Yeah, he's given the monologue throughout the narration throughout the film, so it's him recounting these events. And a couple other things that I was finding looking at trivia and kind of behind the scenes stuff, because they were saying that it was rumored at one point that Humongous was going to be Mel Gibson's partner from the first film.
which I think would have been super cool.
Because he kind of got burned and whatnot, so it would have explained his head and all the veins throbbing and the kind of disfigured look and the fact that he always has a mask on. I thought that would have been a real cool connection if they would have done that. But I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. I overall like this a lot more than Mad Max. I don't dislike Mad Max, but I think this had, like you said, had less holes, less problems. You do have to get over looking at these crazy homosexual gangsters, I guess. But
There was some wicked sweet 80s hair.
there was some good hair. There was some good action here, and there was Mel Gibson being Mel Gibson. So
I forgot that Humongous, one of his insults, he called Mel Gibson a puppy.
yeah, he's got to work on his insults.
I just felt like he was the most sensitive speaking, big looking, scary guy
Yeah.
in this movie.
He was like an 80s cartoon villain or something. Like, he was all scary looking, but then he didn't have very good, like, insults, and he went out like a bitch.
Oh, you poopy face.
Yeah, you puppy. Anyway,
You're
so...
such a puppy. Are you gonna pet me? What is this?
So, a grade on The Road Warrior out of 5. What do you give it?
I'll give it a 2.5.
All right, you're going to give it a 2.5. I'm slightly higher on it than you. I'm going to give it a 3. Not much higher. But so you're at a 2.5. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And we will look forward to closing off this trilogy with the movie that was never planned to be part of the trilogy, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So we'll get to that in a future week. That leads us to our 2015 films. And let's start with the one... We should start with Avengers 2 so we can be friendly at first, but I think we have to leave that for last. We're going to start with Ex Machina, and hopefully we'll still be speaking to each other at the end of this review. So let's first go into what your anticipation or what your thoughts were before you saw the movie. The idea of going to see this movie, had you excited? Had you not excited? What kind of interest level did you have before you saw the film?
The first little trailer I saw, I was like, yeah, I guess it could be cool. But then I saw another trailer, and it looked way more action-packed and exciting. Then I was super on board. So I was definitely ready to see it.
And for me, it's a sci-fi film, so I'm always ready to see a sci-fi film, unless it looks like it's made by a couple of kids in a garage or something. Like, if it looks like it's a second-rate piece of crap, I'm not going to be interested in it. But if it's a science fiction film that has anything to it, I'm usually interested in it. And then, obviously, Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac are in this, so I'm interested to see them, too. Oscar Isaac's been on a roll for me. I've liked everything he's been in lately. So I was definitely excited to see this. I didn't know... outside of the fact that they're going to be dealing with some type of AI form, artificial intelligence, and that it was going to be some type of, dynamic in either, there's a lot of different things that they do with artificial intelligence movies, whether it's trying to rationalize the creation of AI and whether it should exist in human society, or whether
the struggle of it actually existing in a society where it's different and not natural.
Yeah, so there's been different ways that this has been approached in different films throughout the last 10, 20 years, or even, I guess, if you go all the way back to 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I don't suggest doing that since that's an awful movie.
Bicentennial Man.
You can send your hate mail to me, or find me on Twitter at Optimus Solo to tell me how much 2001: A Space Odyssey is a good film, and I'll disagree with you until I'm buried, because that film was awful. But there's a lot of connections between this film and that film, so we were both somewhat anticipating it going into it. Then you were at the film, and your first reaction when the film was over was what?
They should have done more. I felt like I was stoked for all this stuff to happen, and all that I saw was some hollow, drab conversations between two people through glass, and then Oscar Isaac just killing it the whole time.
I just don't get why you can think those conversations are boring and drab. Like, they're so intellectually
They're not really
stimulating.
fleshed out, though. They're not. They're just brief touches on these topics.
I don't understand how you say they're brief touches. They have these very long conversations. Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson have these very long conversations about what the process is, the test that they're going through, whether he can believe that whether someone would believe that this was a real human being versus an AI, and what things need to go into that.
I'm not talking about Domhnall Gleeson.
But that all sets up the conversations that Domhnall Gleeson and Ava have in that class, and it's all just kind of tests. It's not supposed to be these deep conversations between them. It's more like he's the scientist going in that's just trying to probe and ask questions. It's almost like, when you're trying, it's like an initial visit between a psychologist and someone who's going in to have help for whatever. They're going to just do these probing questions to try to figure out things about that person. They're not going to just start and just go deep into their whole past. They have to build to that. You don't get that in this film because it all happens within 1 week, and you're not going to have time to get that. But he's just trying to poke around and see if she has these traits that would show that she's AI, or if it would be true to human form. And there's a lot of discussions that go in to what those things would be.
Then why don't they get to interact on a deeper level as far as physicality or anything? If if Oscar Isaac can go in there and be right with her in her room, why can't they have a setup where, even in the living room situation, where they can be face to face instead of having it this sterile environment and they're trying to build some kind of relationship in this odd sterile
because
environment.
I think they don't want. I don't think he wants them to build a relationship. I don't think he wants them to have that connection. He wants it to be more of a academic, more of a research type thing where that's the subject, you're the researcher, and you're kind of at arm's length with it. He doesn't want them to be interacting like they're humans because it would take away from his ability to look at this from a researcher standpoint with a barrier there, so he can realize that this is not, this is a test subject. This is a machine that you're testing. But is it that big of a deal whether there's glass there or not in the conversations and what goes on?
They're supposed to be building this whole relationship, and I feel
they're not
like,
supposed to be building a relationship.
No, in the premise of the movie is they're developing something, right?
Yeah.
They're developing some kind of connection, and everything that happens in this movie is based on the connection that they have.
No, the premise is it's a test. The premise is it's that test, the Turing test, that they're trying to figure out if you can tell if this is an AI or not. It's not about the relationship. It's not supposed to be. I mean, obviously there's going to be elements of that, and Oscar Isaac kind of teases Domhnall Gleeson a couple times about if he's having feelings for him, or if, there's Domhnall Gleeson is questioning Oscar Isaac, did you program her to be attracted to me, or did you program her to look like somebody I would be attracted to? So there is that element, but the basis of the movie is not about the relationship between the two. It's about the test on if it's real or if it's not. That's what Oscar Isaac's main thing is.
Oscar Isaac is just fucking with him to see what his...
No, Oscar Isaac wants to know if it's something that even though he plays a lot of mind games and he is dishonest or vague with things with Domhnall Gleeson, I still think his motives are still what he says they are at the beginning. He wants to know if this AI can be detected or if it would blend in as a human being. Like that, that's his ultimate. He wants to create the best form of AI that's ever been created, something that you could never tell is an AI. Like that's his dream. He wants to be the guy that created that.
But why is he keeping all these other ones to himself? And on top of it, to add into the test, he's got that Asian broad that's basically like his housekeeper, slash concubine that he's got locked up in there, that he never tells him is AI.
Right. I think that goes into more of the deeper parts of him, of Oscar Isaac, and maybe his flaws as a person, and maybe some of his weaker things, whether it be keeping these people as trophies or keeping them as whatever reason he's keeping them, or maybe he's keeping them just to show the progression from one to the other. I don't know. It never gets in there. But I feel like it's more of kind of the deeper, darker, bad side of Oscar Isaac that we kind of get a feeling exists, but we never get to explore, which kind of adds to the mystery of it. But I don't think that necessarily takes away from what his mission is with Ava and what his mission is.
I don't think he has a pure mission, though. I think
that's why he has this many people locked up,
power.
Though. That's why he has all these AIs that are locked up, because none of them have successfully passed that test. We don't know if Domhnall Gleeson is the first person that's been here, or if Oscar Isaac himself has been able to tell that it's failed each time going up here. You do see some sequences where it's Oscar Isaac just on his own, and he's destroying the things because it hasn't passed the test. So I feel like those are all just examples of, to him, the different things that have been unsuccessful. Like each one that hasn't worked has been able to be detected.
Because they weren't exactly what he wanted. You can see them rebelling against him. Even with that break in the glass from where his concubine lady tried to punch him in the face.
Right. These are all failures to the point where, whether it be...
because of how they were treated by him.
Well, I'm not saying he's treating them the right way or the wrong way, but at the same time, they're machines. And according to him, you can clearly see from Oscar Isaac's standpoint that he's never treating these people as real human beings. He wants them to be able to be passed off as human beings, but he is very clear that they're just robots, and he treats them as robots. He treats them as machines, as property, as you would, your phone or your computer or whatever. You're not gonna equate emotions and real feelings and real human reactions to these things, regardless of how they're interacting with you.
He goes like Thomas Jefferson on these dudes.
But if you have like a robot toy that talks, and like a robot cat or one of those for real whatever that like meows
Panda
and
one.
Okay, that meows and you feed and you water and do
it
whatever.
Hiccups, he gives you hugs. Things like that.
But you're still not gonna equate the same thing if you throw it across the room against a wall. That like, oh no, you're an evil human being because or if it breaks and you put it on a shelf, you're not a bad person because you put it on a shelf and went out and bought a new one.
I'm gonna feel bad.
he might feel bad, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. He feels like these are just pieces of property. These are just experiments. So who cares what he does with them? I mean, maybe there is a darker side to why you're keeping them in a closed closet, or why you're not showing that part to Domhnall Gleeson, but maybe you don't think he needs to know about that. Maybe that's going to cloud whatever he's doing with Ava, knowing that there's been all these other failures. I don't know.
Why is he keeping him in his bedroom, though? Like, he's got this whole
maybe he has
compound.
a sex fetish with AIs. I don't know. He's the one that built them so they could have sex with each other. I don't know. Maybe there's a darker side to Oscar Isaac.
Obviously, there is.
But I think all of that's the intriguing part, not knowing that and trying to think about why is he doing that. These questions are what makes the movie stimulating and good to me, and it's not just a boring, bland conversation between two people with a window in front or with a mirror in front of them or whatever. Like, you have to try to decide what are Oscar Isaac's real motives or real intentions. Why is he doing the things that he's doing? Why is he going about it? What's the real reason for Domhnall Gleeson being there? And then from Domhnall Gleeson's standpoint, who does he believe? Does he believe Ava, who's telling him one thing? Does he believe Oscar Isaac, who's the human, telling him one thing? You know, he's just this guy that was, quote, won a lottery. Obviously, he was selected to be there.
But he was somebody that Isaac thought he could control, and he researched up on. And
right. But what I'm saying, if you're looking at it through Gleason's eyes and his viewpoint, then it has a whole other element to the film of who do you believe, and you're kind of a pawn in this. But what part do you play, and how are you gonna, what's gonna fuel your decisions? Do you believe Ava and try to rebel and set her free, or do you take the human involved in this, Oscar Isaac, and just think, yeah, this dude's fucked up, or this dude's somewhat crazy, but I'm still gonna play the game. I'm only here for a week. I'm just gonna do my job and go home. Obviously he makes the wrong decision at some point, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but he clearly doesn't have things resolved how he wants them to be resolved. But
you're going into this thinking that I hate this movie, and I don't hate it. I'm just saying, if you want this cerebral film, don't set it up where I can sit here and guess what the fuck's going to happen.
You can't guess what's going to happen.
Okay, how many times did I turn to you and be like, brr,
no, but nobody, we didn't, I don't want to get into spoilers, but you didn't guess everything that was all the different turns at the end.
It came to a point where there were some turns, yeah, but I was
I mean, I don't understand what you're saying is predictable. Predictable that this guy
has bad motives.
Not necessarily. I still don't think he had bad motives. I still don't believe Oscar Isaac had bad motives in this film.
This dude is twisted. I mean,
Is he a twisted human being? Is he an imperfect human being? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean he has bad motives. The most genius people in the world that have created some of the most genius things in the world are crazy people.
But he set this up in the most shady possible way.
Because maybe in a science experiment, you have to control everything.
It wasn't a completely blind experiment
either,
because he kept putting these little fucking seeds of either doubt or information into Gleason's head to try to manipulate this process.
Yeah, he's running a controlled experiment. He needs it isolated. He needs it closed off to the outside world. He needs to control Gleason at some point. He needs to control Ava. He needs to control everything so he can figure out whatever he's figuring out. Yeah, you could question the motive or the means, but I think his end motives are not necessarily bad. He's trying to create. I mean, it depends on your view on, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but it depends on your view of the creation of artificial intelligence. If you believe artificial intelligence should be something that we create and have in our world, or if you think it's not, that's a different argument. But if you're going under the assumption that it's fine and that artificial intelligence is okay to exist, then his motives are to create the perfect version of that. How is that a bad motive?
Why would you create something that's humanoid, something that can be a human, and then treat it like a machine?
Because you're in the experimental process of trying to perfect it. So you have to go through these different things. It's not a person. It's still a computer in his mind. It's still an object. So if you're trying to create something, you can manipulate that object until if you're writing a computer program, you can delete it, you can trash it, you can do whatever you want if it doesn't work, and then you're going to go back to the square one and try to reprogram that computer program.
So why would you keep treating it like an object if you want it to evolve from that? That's his goal, is to make sure that it can pass as human. Because he's got to make sure
the program is written right first.
He's already got that down.
No, he doesn't. That's what this test is, to see if he has the program down or not. It's failed 7 or 10 times.
At this point, if he's bringing in an outsider to test it? He's in his final stages.
Yeah, so it's a final
so
test.
You need to treat it as such.
I don't think so.
What are you trying to argue about it then?
I don't think you have
What
to
is your
treat it
point?
as such. I'm just saying I don't question his motives and what he's trying to create.
I'm not questioning it either. I can see face value what he's doing. He's
And I
a
don't think it's
twisted
bad.
dude.
He's twisted, but I don't think what he's doing is bad.
But he can burn it up on the dance floor.
He can burn it up on the dance
And he
floor.
can
So
drink
what
like
were your
nobody's
favorite parts
business.
of what were your favorite parts of this film?
Obviously, my favorite part was everybody else's favorite part, the dance floor scene.
That is probably I usually Dan did it last year, but the year before I did my top 20 or 30 scenes from the year from all films, and this is a front runner already for this year. Like that's a great scene when he's just like getting it on the dance floor. Oscar Isaac is amazing in this whole film.
I think I didn't really connect with him, and I didn't understand a lot of what he was doing in Most Violent Year. But
to go from
this-
that character to this character,
yeah,
and like it's just
I think it redeemed his qualities in my eyes.
I don't think he needed to be redeemed. I'm just thinking it shows two
That's
completely
your
stark
opinion.
contrast
What did
of
I
characters.
just say? I didn't like him in A Most Violent Year, but after seeing him in this, I'm like, cool, bro, you're getting it.
But you
You're doing
cannot
something right with
like
your life.
you cannot like A Most Violent Year, but he still.
I'm
was
talking about
phenomenal.
his character. I didn't say anything about the whole film.
Okay.
Shut your mouth.
I'm just saying that he was a good actor in both films. Regardless of if you care about one film or not, he was a good actor in both films. He gave two great performances that are very stark, contrasting each other. So that's my point. Regardless of how you feel about A Most Violent Year, even if it's wrong or not. As far as Domhnall Gleeson, you liked him, you didn't like him?
I liked him. I definitely still want to see that time travel movie that he's in with Rachel
McAdams?
McAdams, is that
Okay.
who it is?
I don't remember.
The red-haired lady from The Notebook? Yeah.
Okay.
So I think seeing him in two different roles like that will be pretty cool, especially coming off of this film. And I liked him. I thought he gave a good performance. Thought he was convincing and relatable, and like I could connect with him, and I vested in him.
And I think that's one of the major things this movie has going for it, like everybody else is saying that's reviewing this, is the performances from the three people involved. I think they're all pretty remarkable. I think they're believable. I think they're very different. All three of them are definitely showing you different spectrums of this whole idea and of the whole themes that are going under the underlying themes. Like, they all have different motives, and they all have different backgrounds and experiences, and I think it's just interesting how they all kind of play off each other. So I definitely think all the performances are great. I actually agree. I'm not usually someone that likes or even notices soundtracks or the musical themes or scores for movies, but I did notice it in this one, and I actually thought it enhanced the film a little bit. I liked the music and the score in the background. I don't know if you noticed it when you were watching it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that's all you got to say about that.
Yeah, no, I'm not huge on scores though either, but I can definitely tell if it's hurting or helping the mood.
Right, it didn't take me out of it. Like something like Under the Skin, as much as people want to rave about the score, that took me out of that film even more than the awful film did. And this one definitely only enhanced it. So I appreciated the score. And just overall, like I said, I didn't have as many issues as you did with this one. I definitely think this is one of the best films I've seen this year. For a score out of 5, I would probably be giving this one probably a 4 to 4.5, somewhere in there. Maybe 4.5 feels a bit high, but 4 feels a bit low. So I guess I'm somewhere in between there. So what about you?
I'll give it a 3.5.
3.5. All right, so you didn't hate it as much as it seemed.
No, you just think that I can't enjoy strictly cerebral movies. And
No, you have a tendency to like more adventure action type genres than you do dramas, and that's nothing bad.
I like a sci-fi movie, and I want some crazy shit to pop off.
See, I don't necessarily need that in my sci-fi. I do like that in some sci-fi movies, but I don't necessarily need it in all of them. It's something like Her from a couple years ago. It was something that I definitely doesn't have action going at you, but it's definitely a sci-fi film that has a lot of other things going. So I like to think about all those different themes. But so 3.5 for you, 4.5 for me. And we have one more film to talk about, and that is, of course, the one that everybody's talking about this weekend. Probably every podcast or review that you go to is going to have something about this. So let's get into something that we're going to somewhat agree on even more, and that would be Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. Your level of excitement going into this was?
10.
10 out of
10.
10 out of 10. I would probably be a 9 out of 10 for that. I'm not going to be as excited as I would be for something like Star Wars, because I'm more of a Star Wars geek than a Marvel geek. But I'd still say I'm at least a 9 out of 10 excited for Avengers 2. Don't give me that evil eye. I can't help it that I like Star Wars more.
But you can appreciate the freaking comic book movies.
I do appreciate the comic book movies, but I don't have the same connection to the animated series or the actual comic books, so it's just a tiny bit be under Star Wars as far as excitement goes. But we're both very much excited to go see this. It's also been a long time since I've been in a theater that was packed
To the bazinkas.
to watch a movie, like not a seat empty in the place, and this was at a 9 a.m. showing.
9:30. We got
9:30
there
a.m.
before
showing.
the doors even opened. They had a meeting at
Yeah,
the
who
theater.
schedules a meeting the morning of the weekend that Avengers comes out? Like they had a sign on the door that said the doors will unlock at 9 o'clock, and they didn't even unlock at 9 o'clock because there was still a meeting going on. So anyways, the movie started at 9:30, packed theater. I will say though, for the first time in a long time, I guess I'm not at a lot of packed theaters, so I shouldn't say I have a lot of experience with it, but when I am, there's usually something annoying about it. And the theater audience was pretty well behaved at this one.
You had to be some diehards if you're going to go see Avengers at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday, I think.
But there was no phones going off. There was no obnoxiously loud people talking through the whole movie. There was there was not many distractions, I didn't think. Besides people, myself included, getting up and going to the bathroom or something. That was about the only distraction probably for anybody.
Which is amazing to me that I stuck it out and you didn't.
Yes, you do have a much smaller bladder than I do. Yes,
I don't want to miss anything.
We're talking about bladder size here on Weekend at the Movies. So we're obviously very excited going into this, and we'll just cut to the chase. What was your first reaction after the movie was over?
Minus my yawn.
The excitement in that yawn is immense.
A lot of excitement yesterday.
Positive or negative reaction coming out?
I don't know if I knew exactly how to react when I came out of it. I thought it was really good, but I don't think it completely blew my mind. I don't think it matched up to the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I don't think it's quite as good as the first Avengers. I think there's a few more holes here and there in the film. Overall, does it fit with everything Marvel's been doing? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think it's a misstep. I don't think it's the first failure that we've all been waiting for Marvel to have. Like, not that we want that to happen, but we're all waiting for that first disaster film from a Marvel cinematic universe, and this is not it. It's going to be in the mix. We'll talk about kind of how we rank it among other Marvel films once we get to the end of this. But let's get to the good parts first. What are the things you... And this will have spoilers in it. I'm just going to say that right away. We're going to have spoilers in this discussion at some point because 180 million people have already seen this film or something like that. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. Go see it and then listen to this. But there will be spoilers throughout. So what are your favorite things about the Avengers Age of Ultron?
Putting me on the spot first.
What characters did you like best? What moments did you like best?
Obviously, I'm gonna go for Thor as my main bro.
Your main bro,
Learned
not your cuz.
Not my cuz, my bro.
Okay.
I just learned me some Thor, and like you touched on before, I think a lot of things tie into Thor's story, and.
I think Thor doesn't get enough respect. Like, if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything we've gotten from Iron Man through now, however many films that's been, 11, 12, something like that, there is no character storyline that is more important to this universe than Thor's. Some people might argue Iron Man, but it literally all revolves around the Thor storyline. I mean, Loki is the main villain in the first Avengers. You have all of the idea that there's a presence, an otherworldly presence that's threatening you. That's not existent without Thor's storyline.
And they're always alluding back to that, like, oh, we're doing this because we know that this other realm exists.
And it all has to do with the objects from Thor's universe, whether it be, the Infinity Stones or the Tesseract or whatever it is. Like, all things tie back to Thor, so people need to give Thor more respect. Those Thor movies were better than people give him credit for. I know everybody likes to love on Captain America and Iron Man, but Thor is very important to this whole franchise. So, I'm sorry, but continue. What other things did you like about it?
I like the humor that they had in this. I liked the banter between them a little bit more. I feel like it showed the fact that they have made relationships and not they're not just this ragtag bunch of superhumans or whatever you want to call them thrown in together. Mm-hmm. I like that even the language that they kept, messing with Captain America. And I like how their humor tied them all together. And I liked Jeremy Renner's little rant about killing Quicksilver or whatever.
Oh,
Nobody would even know.
Ultron could just be sitting on him or whatever. Yeah, that's definitely a funny part. I think besides...
Go to sleep.
Yeah, besides Jeremy Renner talking about killing Quicksilver, I think my funniest moment was, when Iron Man is punching the Hulk and telling him to go to sleep over and over and over again. That was definitely hilarious. I think humor was great in this film. I don't think there was too many jokes that fell flat or too many things. Obviously with Iron Man, you're going to get a bunch of quips. I guess I wasn't prepared for the number of snarky comments we would get from Ultron himself. Granted, I realize he's a creation of Tony Stark in this version of the story, and that he's going to have elements that are connected to that, so that's probably why he's a smartass. But just based on the previews and stuff, I was expecting him to be much less talkative.
Like more cold and calculated?
Yeah, more cold, more calculating, like where words were few and far between, but when they happened, they had a lot of weight to them. And instead, we get words that a lot of times don't matter too much because it's just him being a smartass. Like, he's a lot more talkative than I thought he would be.
And I feel like if they would have given him time to actually be with Tony Stark instead of just learning about him from internet videos or whatever,
right, that
he could have been something more. And I feel like that his personality traits that are coming out that are like Tony Stark's through his words would have been more valid.
Well, I think that kind of leads to probably, for me, the biggest flaw in this film, and that is the creation of Ultron. I get that we have these super scientists in Tony Stark and Bruce Banner that are, fiddling around and trying to create this based on the staff and everything, and with connection to Jarvis and whatnot, and that they're failing and kind of still working on it, and then they go to this party, and I think it was way too rushed in how, number one, how Ultron is created, and number two, how Ultron gets to the idea that humans and the world needs to be destroyed. Like, I think they could have spent more time developing that. I just think it was way too quick. Like, he does an internet search and then uploads all these videos and data and everything, and then immediately he interprets peace as, peace for the world being that humans are gone. And I just think there should have been something. There should have been an event. There should have been a certain thing that he saw besides just a couple videos of war that brought him to that. And I think there was other things that could have been left out of the film that would have allowed more time to be spent on that. For example, I didn't care, or it didn't really have an impact on me, the whole idea of introducing Hawkeye's family. Like, I don't need to know that he has a bunch of kids and a wife in a farmhouse somewhere. I don't care about that whole angle at all, so we could have spent those minutes instead developing Ultron, and I would have been fine with that.
At least with, like, the Fifth Element, when Lilu is on essentially what would be maybe like the internet, or like a video database of encyclopedia knowledge or history or whatever, she's still forming relationships with people and learning herself and connecting to things and trying to figure out the connection between her and her role, based on what she's seeing, these awful images, and what she's experiencing herself.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they would have shown, the reason why Ultron all of a sudden was like, I just need to wipe people out.
Yeah, I just think that was a little bit rushed. And the only reason it would have been okay to show all of the Hawkeye stuff with his family and all that was if they would have killed him. I was somewhat, thinking that he was for sure going to be the one that gets killed, since we all now have this like connection where people can be emotionally invested in the fact that he has kids and a wife, and all of a sudden that makes it more tragic, I guess, if he dies, compared to if you don't have that. I guess if you don't have that, it's not tragic when you die. That's the thing. But like,
just a star on the wall.
If that would have been the angle, then maybe I could forgive him for having that scene. But really, that scene and the whole family dynamic for Hawkeye does nothing for this whole story for me. Like, I didn't need that. And I also was a little disappointed that, again, we're having spoilers here, but I'm disappointed that none of the main characters die again. I mean, this is 11 movies into this thing, and we have yet to have a character die.
Well,
like,
even
I'm
when
not
there's-
morbid, but like
Even when they're setting up, like, oh, these are the new Avengers, it's nobody that's from the original, really, except
Right.
for the people who are going to essentially, like, walk them along.
And if you're-
So why couldn't you kill off one of those characters if you're going to reintroduce some new Avengers in the
right.
first place?
If you're getting a new team
Make
ready,
it a reason, not just think, oh, I'm bowing out, I'm done with this, guys.
well, and it's fine if a couple of people are doing that. If it's fine if you know, like, let's say Iron Man's going to fade off and just do, you know, whatever, try to do some other technological thing, or if Captain America is going to fade into the distance and do this, like, that's fine if a couple of them do that. But if you're just having like, oh, all of them are going to fade into the distance and one of them's going to train this new group of Avengers, like, you don't need all of them to still be alive. And if it's not, it doesn't make up for it if all you're doing is killing a new character. Like, introducing a character and then killing him in the film has no impact. It's not the same as killing one of the main, like, Hulk could have died.
Hulk can't die, dude.
He can't die physically. He can't die.
Dude, he's been up against Thor. I mean,
No,
he's
but I'm
been-
just saying, like, saying the character could have been killed off somehow if it's capable of killing
It's
Hulk.
fucking the Hulk.
But-
He can't die, dude.
But I'm just saying, like, Iron Man, you know,
I
he's
think he
the
did
he's the
die,
first
but maybe
person
not.
that's ever been here as far as introduced in the whole cinematic universe. He could have been killed off. I thought for a long time they were gonna. I would never want them to kill Thor off because he has too many connections to what else is going to be happening. But like, one of these people, Hawkeye could have been killed. Like, that's fine. You know, one of those guys could have been killed. To have the only person be killed is Quicksilver, who just got introduced into the film, like, that's weak. Like, kill one of the main people. Don't introduce a character just to kill him off. Like, that doesn't have the same impact for me.
So when we touch on Scarlet Witch, I thought she was pretty cool, and her powers were, you know, pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
But is this supposed to be tied into the X-Men universe
No.
at some point? So why are they introducing Magneto's daughter in the Avengers? I don't get that.
It's
They could
one
have
of
done with
the-
somebody else. Why are you pulling in these characters?
I mean, I don't know. There had to be some type of rationale for that. I know that they're the only two characters, or two of the only characters that can be used in both franchises based on legalities. A lot of the other characters can't be. But I don't know why they were choosing to connect these two specifically. I don't know if it was just her powers that they needed, or if there was no substitute for that. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if they're going to explain eventually the actual family origin instead of just like my family was killed. That doesn't necessarily say that there's still not a connection to Magneto per se, but they kind of gloss over that, so I'm not really sure.
Well, and then they're testing, like, oh, we volunteered to get these powers.
Right.
So wasn't Scarlet Witch born with that innate power until she went into puberty?
See, this is my comic book ignorance going in there, because since I don't read the comic books, I don't know what the backstory is for these, so someone will have to correct us on that or fill us in. I don't know if there's multiple storylines for Scarlet Witch or if there's just one main history backstory, and I don't know if, like Quicksilver, for example, I don't know if you can rationalize Quicksilver's appearance in X-Men Days of Future Past and his appearance here as both fitting in. Not saying they're both in the same universe, since they're obviously different actors and characters, etc., but if they're both okay based on the original backstory of that character or not. I don't know. It gets kind of dicey with those two characters for sure. But did you like both of them as far as new people that you saw there?
I did. I feel like Quicksilver could have been utilized maybe a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
More than he was, I guess, but
Right.
I think he was maybe the weakest character for me.
I can see that in a way. Going into what they shape up, because we're talking about the new Avengers, that group that kind of assembles, even though they don't say Avengers Assemble, at the end, what did you think of that collection of people? You had War Machine, you have Falcon, you got Scarlet Witch, who else was in that group there?
Well, then there was Captain America and
Scarlett Johansson.
Black Widow still.
So what did you think of that group as a new group of Avengers?
Two of them rely on the technology.
See, I'd be
Or
fine
three
if
of them, you know what I
I
mean?
think Scarlet Witch works, and I think Falcon works. My question is War Machine, because dude is old. Like,
Rhodey is old.
dude looks old. Like,
Rhodey is road hard.
yeah, like he's more part of that first generation to me. He's not like a young up and comer type guy where I can buy it with Anthony Mackie. But with Don Cheadle, it's too hard for me to accept that he's going to be part of the new group. Like, no, this dude's old.
Well, plus he was like the most made a joke
Right.
in the film.
Like, I get if it's like even if it was Hawkeye and Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, and Captain America, that'd be fine with me. I don't necessarily understand War Machine being involved in that, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting how they all came together and kind of showed up as this new team. I don't think anybody's going to take that team over the original team, though.
No.
So
We have a God and a Hulk.
exactly, and got RDJ. So, what about getting more as to the character of Ultron? We talked about how he was rushed and created, and maybe they could have spent more time with that. But with what they did, and let's say we get past the point where, okay, he has this vendetta against the human race. From that point on, what were your feelings about James Spader's Ultron?
I think the first vision of him was pretty powerful and creepy and foreboding.
We forgot the other... Thanks for using that word. We forgot the other guy that's involved in the new Avengers. Vision.
Oh, yeah. We can touch on him afterwards.
All right, we'll talk about him in a second.
Now you just cut.
Sorry, Ultron.
Jeez.
His initial vision.
I think the initial viewing of him, like when he's all, this ragtag, put together, broke down machine with this, the hydraulic fluid leaking all over the place and, whatever, and how broke down he is, it's so creepy. And I'm still scared of him, even though he looks like you could just wreck him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish he had a different weapon than just his clones.
That's all he's got.
Minions.
He doesn't have laser eyes.
I want him to have some type of weapon.
Like his arm can't turn into some weapon.
I want him to go Terminator style and just be like...
Yeah. But he, like you said before, he that's all he's got is his clones. Like, he doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. When he actually, does some damage, I feel like the most of it is when he's already been fucked up and he's in a plane. This guy is a machine and he's got to get in a plane and shoot people with the plane guns.
It's almost as funny as Hulk trying to pilot a plane in Hulk form when he was in the cockpit.
He didn't. He's just I'm just going to chill.
I'm just going to touch this. But yeah, that's my biggest thing is I don't think he did enough damage. It wasn't as threatening. I'm going to send a bunch of my little clone guys at you, but I feel like he didn't do as much, which I could have appreciated if he would have had more of an effect himself personally. But, I mean, I still kind of, out of, Marvel villains, because that's something that Marvel gets bashed on a lot, is they don't have high-quality villains outside of, Loki. Most of the other villains have had some type of negative critique about them. I think he's better than a lot of them we've gotten. I don't think he's Loki style, but he's decent.
Loki style.
He's not on Loki level. But let's go back to Vision.
Your power isn't level Loki.
What was your thoughts about Vision?
I thought he looked fucking cheesy as shit. You got some grease paint on and some weak-ass prosthetics over your ears. You're made out of what? One of the most powerful metals or whatever it was? What is that?
Whatever.
Vibranium or whatever?
Yeah.
You're made out of this cool-ass metal plus flesh.
I thought he looked cool.
I thought he looked cheesy as shit.
I liked his look. I liked his little, what's the guy in Mike Tyson that has the little jewel?
The Mind Stone thing?
The Mind Stone. It's like the guy in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where you just watch for that blinking, and then he's about to fuck you up. But no, I like that, and I like the scene where him and Iron Man and Thor are all kind of fucking up Ultron together.
Laser the shit out.
Yeah, it's triple laser effect. You're done, sir.
I feel like he should have been way more fucked up after that, though.
He does add a much higher level to that new Avengers team, though. It's better with him in it. He's more of a badass. He's more of a godlike creature, so it can maybe help the fact that Thor or Iron Man aren't involved.
He's more likened to Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen.
Yeah, that's what I thought, without the blue wang.
Without the wang.
Because if you think about it, if Captain America's still there, and you're just switching Iron Man out for War Machine, and...
Hawkeye for...
I don't know. A lot of them kind of have, similar things. I guess this would be Vision would be the replacement for Thor, I guess. That's as close as you're going to get. They don't have the muscle, though. They don't have Hulk.
Thor and the Hulk brought the pain.
And, of course, we can't not mention the funny moments with the hammer.
Oh, my God.
There's an awesome scene where they're all sitting around a table and they're all taking turns trying to lift up Thor's hammer. And that is That's awesome. That's especially when Captain America kind of budges it a little bit and Thor gets all scared.
His face is just epic. That's acting to the T's, dude.
Yeah, it was great facial expressions from Hemsworth. And then, of course, you have... I know you didn't like it, but I thought it was hilarious then, especially, again, with Hemsworth's facial reaction when... they don't know what to make of Vision. They're all kind of in that group, and they don't really know what to make of him, if he's good or bad or whatever. And once they're they know he's on his side, and then he just hands Thor his hammer, and they're all just like, "Fuck."
I didn't want that though. I don't like that.
I thought that was cool.
Don't let him do that.
I thought it was a cool way to show that this guy can hold his own. We'll take
He's
him.
worthy or whatever.
You are worthy, and he had the Mind Stone, so you can't, you can kind of pass it off that he couldn't do it without that, maybe.
Well, that's in him, right? That's not something you can just take off on a headband.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something removable or not, or if that's just where it is. Because he says he trusts him with it, so it seems like there's an option. Maybe at some point there would be an option to get it out of him, because he says,
bash his skull in to
or something. Because they're like, it'll be safe with him. I trust him with it. I mean, obviously it does a good job setting up the whole Infinity Stones. Because it can protect itself. Then it's not just a stone that somebody can come pick up and use for good or evil. It's actually got its own defense system that thinks. And they do set up, obviously, the whole Infinity Stones and where that's going to go. Obviously, the end credit scene involves Thanos. And, again, I'm going to say what I said to you earlier. I can't get over how cheesy Thanos looks. You think Vision looks cheesy? I think Thanos looks cheesy.
He doesn't look scary or imposing at all. He's just a big...
And I just question that they built this whole universe around him as the biggest, baddest villain.
He's pulling all the strings.
Right. And I think they could have used somebody that was more visually... intimidating, and I don't know, I just don't even the dude from Guardians, even though he wasn't used as well, to me is a more intimidating looking person than Thanos was. The guy that's
the blue guy?
No, the guy with the cloak and everything.
Yeah, he's blue, and they put all this powder and weird stuff on his body.
Yeah, I thought he was more intimidating than Thanos looks. I don't know. But we'll see how that all plays out. Obviously, that's something that's coming up. Any other negatives or anything that you didn't get to talk about with Avengers 2 Age of Ultron?
No, I think that wraps it up. I mean...
We did talk a little bit about the whole plot device of lifting up the Earth, lifting up that city or whatever and dropping it.
Oh yeah, the
I think that's kind of weak.
Wasn't as
it didn't have the dramatic effect that the disaster in Avengers 1 had. It didn't, it's not something otherworldly. It's not something that you didn't feel the threat for the whole world.
Even though they set it up as some global disaster, you didn't really get that feeling. They're just like, "Oh, we're going to drop this city and it's going to kill the entire planet."
Yeah, there was never a showing or a realistic picture of the fear for the whole globe or for people in other countries. It was just we're going to drop this and we're going to tell you that it's going to destroy, from this level it's going to destroy thousands, from this level it's going to destroy millions, from this level it's going to wipe out the whole world.
Couldn't they
it's just hard to buy.
Shown on the news, that cheesy way of showing on the world news, they're seeing the city lift up in other countries. And...
Well, you almost needed something where it was a certain level. I mean, I'm not for someone to put a text or something on a screen, but I think the reason it didn't have that big of an impact is because we got the feeling that at different elevations it would have a different impact, but we never know what elevation they're at.
Except at one point he's at this height I could still kill billions or whatever.
Right, but I almost needed either more dialogue or something that was one of the Avengers or somebody was tracking it, like Nick Fury or somebody, because we never kind of got to look at him after he gets introduced, besides when he shows up with a thing, but... Maybe they could have been back of the ship and been you're 100 feet until this, or you got to stop it in the next 500 feet, or whatever. There was no tracking of how high we are and at what point it becomes a disaster. So I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was as intimidating or as
the impending doom wasn't there.
Yeah, the impending doom wasn't as effective as it was in the first Avengers. So, and it's also too similar to me as to. I mean, I know it's different because you're lifting up a portion of the Earth and going to drop it, but just the whole idea that something's rising up towards the sky, almost kind of like that portal was in the Avengers.
It was already in the sky.
But I'm just saying, the whole idea of something from the Earth going up towards space in a way, I don't know. It seemed too similar, but not as good for me. I don't know. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think we touched on everything. I think that maybe the Vision was my weakest link in this movie.
I disagree with that part. But as far as excitement going forward to the next movie in the Marvel Universe, not necessarily talking about Ant-Man, but going on through like in the next Captain America or even heading up to the Avengers movies next? Does it leave you on a high note? You're still going to be anticipating that, or is it kind of a drop-off now?
Yeah, I'm still excited. I like the franchise. I did enjoy this movie. I think entertainment level, was very high. There was never a point where I was like, is this over yet? I was, thoroughly entertained throughout, and I know that you don't really like seeing, or you didn't really care for seeing the, Hawkeye family, but I thought it was cool that they, fleshed out the relationship between him and Natasha a little bit more. I thought that was kind of cool, so...
Yeah.
Another thing, the lullaby with the Hulk, like, before he was, like, bashing the crap out of her, and all of a sudden, she was super terrified of him, and then now she's like, I'm gonna get right in your face and touch you, and you're gonna be okay, and you're gonna turn back into a normal guy.
Yeah, we didn't really get the development of what made that something that was possible, so, or the whole love angle between those two, between, being terrified and being fully trusting of each other. So maybe another plot hole that some people would have for this film. So as far as an overall ranking for Avengers 2, where would you go with this one?
In regards to the first one, or just
out of a 5 scale, where are you putting Avengers 2?
I'll say 4.5. I was digging it.
All right, 4.5 for you. I'm going to go just slightly under that with a 4 out of 5. I think there was enough plot holes to knock it off of the 5 or the 4.5 range, so I'm going to go with a 4. But definitely worth seeing and not a misstep by Marvel still. Still a good film. If you were putting it within all the other Marvel films, where is it? Is it towards the top, in the middle, at the bottom? You don't necessarily have to list them all, but where do you think it would fit out of the 11 or 12 films that have been going on so far?
I'd say somewhere in the middle, towards the top.
Yeah, I think it's maybe in the top half, but real close to the middle for me, too. I think there's been, at least 4 or 5 films that are probably better than it. But there's some films that are worse than it too. So, all right, that does it for the main attraction part of the show. Just real quick, what to look for coming out next week. Like we said, there's not going to be much of a change at the box office. Nothing's trying to compete with Avengers in the second week. You have Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
which I think looks pretty
Abigail
cool.
Breslin coming out May 8th. You have 5 Flights Up starring Morgan Freeman. You have the awful, terrible looking Reese Witherspoon in Hot Pursuit. If anybody sees that film, I'm unfollowing you, unfriending you, and acting like you don't exist anymore.
I mean,
the D Train, Jack Black, and Skin Trade with Tony Jaa.
That's the one
coming
that
out May 8th as well.
We just talked about, wasn't it?
So those are the films coming out in theater or on demand here next week of note. As far as Blu-ray releases, there's actually quite a bunch of stuff coming out here in a couple days. You have already on DVD Anna Kendrick in the last 5 years. You have The Lost River being released. You have Clint Eastwood 7-movie collection being released from Universal Pictures on Blu-ray. I'm not sure what the 7 films are, but that might be something that some people would be interested in. From 2014, you have Mr. Turner being released on Blu-ray. You also have a Selma combo pack being released. So quite a bit of stuff that's coming out if you're looking for something to add to your Blu-ray collection. And also Black Sea, which is from 2015, which I've been looking forward to seeing. That is coming out in a combo pack, as well as the 2015 film Black or White. So you have a bunch of different options from 2015 or 2014 as far as things that you can watch. So as far as the 7 movies in that Clint Eastwood Universal Pictures set, you have Two Mules for Sister Sarah, Joe Kidd, High Plains Drifter, Coogan's Bluff, The Beguiled, Play Misty for Me, and The Eiger Sanction. So I guess if you're a diehard Clint Eastwood fan, you'll be all over that. As far as a question for next week, obviously we just want your reactions about Avengers 2 and where it ranks in the Marvel movie universe. So rank it for us. You can rank all the Marvel movies, or you can just give us what slot Avengers 2 fits in. Is it the 3rd best Marvel movie, the 5th best, the 7th best? Where does it rank for you? So that's it for us. Thanks as always for joining us here on Weekend at the Movies. You can call the voicemail line if you want to give feedback that way, 502-526-5821. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can follow the network on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. My Twitter is at Optimus Solo. Your Twitter is...
Hard Candy Mandy, Eyes No Wise.
Eyes No Wise. And of course, the best way to interact with us is to go to the Geekcast Radio website, find the episode post, and leave a comment, and we will definitely reply to you on there. So that is it for us, and we will see you next time for another episode of Weekend at the Movies. But there is a point where they really haven't had anything to do with each other. The Paul Walker's character and Ava Mendes, and they literally have the most out of left.
Is it gonna barf on my phone? Don't barf on the bed. Get down if you're gonna puke, dude. Oh.
So gross.
Oh my god.
She's like hacking and then swallowing it. You okay? Oh man. Easy,
Oh my
cool.
god. Oh my god.
That's good. You're good. Nope. I've never heard her do that.
It's my life, dude. Go get a drink of water, homie.
Alright, we're good.
Get it.